Hello and welcome to the Browns Blitz. Today is Thursday, May 29th. This is episode number 298. We're edging ever so close to that number 300. I'm gonna have to figure out something to do for that one, I guess. So it's a Thursday night, and OTAs are going on, and we got a few things to talk about. Got a great guest, and we're going to get things rolling here. Of course, we are part of the Fanatical Elves Network, and you can check us out on the on YouTube, on iTunes. Hope you'll find us there and subscribe. Let me bring in my brother Jeff. Hey Jeff, how are things going?
Going well. How about you?
Doing good. Been a kind of a busy week for a guy who, been out of work and all that. So
yeah,
I know how people have time to have a job,
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah.
Been a long week of reading articles about our number 4 quarterback.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff going on. We'll get into some articles later, and Jeff, it's funny because I love writers. I love people who like to write and give people the benefit of the doubt. But man, there are some horrible articles out there. There's some people out there that just maybe ought to find another, because there are some people who are really good at it. So when I talk ill of articles, it's not all of them.
It seems to have really deteriorated this off season, right? I mean, just the idea of people quoting unnamed sources for unknown things that draw conclusions. It's like, there's nothing productive that comes up. Like that's 2 minutes of my life I'll never get back after reading your article.
Right.
Just put something really useful in it, or save us all some time.
Give us your thoughts, give us your opinions, or say something that's really happening.
Right.
If you're going to tease something, actually have it in your article.
Right.
With your headline.
Right.
Don't create a headline and then it's somebody comes and reads it and says, "Wow, I didn't even see where I talked about that."
Yeah, that's
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Boy, we got off on a tangent real quick on this one.
Yeah, you got up on my stump.
Yeah. It happens on this show, but yeah, sometimes earlier than others.
Right.
So let's bring our guest in, and she's thinking, "Oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?"
Right.
Hey Sherry.
Hey.
It's Sherry. You can follow her at BrownsFanGurl, and Sherry is also a member of the Fanatical Elves Network.
Right.
And you're still doing some stuff with Bougie Sports too.
I've been collaborating with Posh with her UFL podcast, which has been pretty interesting. I helped her interview one of their players, Abdul Beecham, who is really quite the nice guy. So I've been collaborating with her, and mostly working with Lou on Fridays, doing the Burning River Browns talk every Friday, 9 p.m.
All right. Everybody be sure and check that out if you're not already, and all of the rest of the podcasts on the Fanatical Elves Network. So we do a couple of segments on this show. If I can find my banners, we were just talking about this. The first thing we like to talk about is what we're drinking in our Blitz beverages.
Oh, okay.
And Sherry, you're the guest. You get to go first.
I have a meandering story I could tell you.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I know. Get excited. So I live in the very close east suburbs of Cleveland. And there's a new that opened, and you may or may not have heard of it, Meyer. It's an outlet out of Michigan. It's like Walmart, except clean and well stocked and friendly. It's very kind, you could say.
So it's
They
just
honor
exactly like Walmart.
exactly. So it's a brand new store. They're trying to get people in. They're sending coupons, and everyone's all excited in this part of the land. So I'm like, oh, I need a beverage. I need a beverage for tonight. And I went to their cooler, and I was looking for something Cleveland that was a solo, that was just one can. And I'm like, this is not going to work out well for me. And then I got distracted because it's a brand new store. And they're like, look over here at this deal. Look at this deal. And I'm like, okay, focus. And I just picked kind of randomly because I'm silly. I picked the thing with an alligator on it because I'm from South Florida. And this past week for me has been very South Florida because, hockey. Like, I've been tuned in 100% to my hockey team. And so I picked, it's not beer, it's Cayman Jack. It's like
it's a margarita.
And it's extra strong. So I'm going to be sipping because I don't want to face plant, on your show. We have to keep decorum, and I would like to be a little bit professional and not run your show through the swamp. And that's primarily why I picked that beer. Well, not beer, margarita.
Margarita. Yeah, we have people drink all sorts of different things on the show, so it's not limited to beer for sure.
All right.
So you
could have just brought a Coors, but I'm like, that's boring.
Yeah, that's all right. We've seen quite the collection over the years, I would say, right, Jeff? Of beers. So So Jeff, Jeff, what are you drinking
from my brother?
tonight? Yeah, especially from
Rod, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, you told me about Athletic Brewing Company, that they had some alcohol-free options, and I'd seen them. I just never picked it up. So I tried that one when we were together last weekend, and so I picked up 6 of this stuff. This is Athletic Brewing Company Free Wave Hazy IPA, and I especially like it because of the orange can.
Oh, that is nice.
Nice.
Works well with our set. Right?
Very nice.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that a try tonight.
Okay. Let us know how that is.
Well, how about we do it right now?
How about you do it right now? We don't have anybody to drink to tonight, so which is a good thing.
Tastes like a hazy IPA.
Excellent.
Yeah. Truth in advertising.
Yeah. Guys, I know we have some people in Columbus, Browns fans, and hopefully some people are watching. I'm drinking a Columbus Brewing Company Peel Pusher.
Oh.
And this is a Citrus Imperial Hazy IPA. And a couple weeks ago, we went to Athens for my stepson to graduate from med school. And one of his friends came and brought a 6-pack of this, and he handed me one. And because the other guys there kind of, they went out and bought beer, and they came back, just so you guys know, they came back with some of the Bush Apple and some
yes,
and some Miller and some other stuff. So he handed me one of these because he knows that I actually drink beer, and it's really good. So there was one left, and he says, "Here, why don't you take this one home with you?" So this is the other one, but this stuff's really good, and it's just got a really good mix of just a little bit of bitterness and a lot of fruity flavor. It says it's flavored with your typical orange, but it's got grapefruit, mango, and peach flavors on it. So this is probably one of my favorites. Really good beer.
Sweet.
So watch the banner shift, guys. You see that? So, anyways, um,
Nice.
and anyhow, so yeah, something we don't have a banner for, which I'm gonna have to think about. And Sherry, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you about this. So we do this to everybody who comes on the show.
Okay.
Everybody who comes on the podcast for the first time as a guest, we like to give you a few minutes just to tell us about your Browns fandom and that journey, which is individual to everybody. So anything you want to share,
Okay. Mine
that's,
is
yeah.
very different. I didn't grow up. I wasn't indoctrinated into it like most Browns fans that I know. I was living in San Diego when I first initially picked the Browns as my team. I was working and living in San Diego, and the big
Wow.
boss is like, "Hey, we're moving to Cleveland." And I never really had allegiance to any one specific football team. And I'm like, I need a football team, like that I can call my own. And growing up in South Florida, like, yeah, I knew the Dolphins were like our local team and all that. But I was never really a football fan until, well, I lived in a little football town called Ann Arbor, Michigan. And then I'm like, oh, this is football fandom. This is why people. I know we shall not speak of that school. However, Ann Arbor led to Cleveland, so it's part of the journey. And that's how I got my love of football, because you can't like not pay attention to football and live in a Big Ten school, city.
Right. Yeah.
And so moving from there to San Diego, I'm like, the Chargers. The Chargers were still the San Diego Chargers. And I'm like, I don't really care for California too much. I'm not going to, spend a whole lot of emotion on this team. And then finally the boss is like, oh, we're moving to Cleveland. I'm like, the Browns. I am a Browns fan for the rest of my life. And so it shall be, as said from this day forth.
Nice.
I am a Browns fan. And then after moving here in around I'm going to say around August 2016, I got on Twitter and was surprised that the name I chose wasn't already taken. And I started, tweeting about tickets, and one of the Browns ticket reps DM'd me like immediately for season tickets. And I'm like, wow, that's cheap, especially moving from California. I mean, nothing in California was affordable. So being able to afford season tickets, I was like, sold. So ever since, moving to Cleveland and just really getting to know other fans and the love they have for the team, the many emotions that they feel for the team. I won't say just love, because it's many, many emotions that are cycled through being a fan of the franchise and learning the history, the rich history, and how just Clevelanders love Cleveland. And I really enjoy that so much, because growing up in South Florida, it's a little strange because I grew up in like the Golden Girls area. Like everybody's grandparents are from like Delray Beach, that area, Boca Raton. So coming to like a real blue collar, like working person's town that people have so much pride in, I'm like, heck yeah, this is mine. I'm keeping it and everything that comes along with it. So that's how I became a Browns fan.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm really glad that your boss didn't move you to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for
right?
As are you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Let's see, we got a few comments from one Ethan Greenberg.
A very good friend of mine.
Yeah, Ethan, we need to get you on the show here soon too.
Are you two familiar with Dr. Brown's soda?
I am not.
It's from New York. It's served in delis. You have to go to a Jewish deli, really. I mean, you could find it in some, pretty sure it's kosher. And they have a flavor called celery, which is very much celery. And I remember being a little kid, my grandma always had a can in her pantry. And I think my sister and I got brave and we tried it and we're like, It's terrible. Like,
Mhm.
but black cherry is very good.
And then
Oh,
apparently
not
his
yet.
the hemisphere coffee. Let's see.
Hebrew, yeah. That is the thing. Yep. Hebrew.
Awesome.
Sure.
Awesome stuff.
Next
Nice.
time.
All right, guys. Let's take a look at some Browns news. I guess OTAs is the main news. Whatever you want to make out of it. Some people go a little crazy over who's there and who's not. I don't know if you guys care about Miles being in Japan or not.
I think it's kind of sweet if indeed this new friend is a love interest to go to the other side of the world to support an award she's getting. And she's an Olympic athlete, Chloe Kim. That's super cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. You on board, Jeff?
I mean, I think he should be here. I think he's a leader. Everybody wants him to lead this team except him, I think.
I think
he
you're
should be
right.
here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it. It's not mandatory, and they've emphasized that over and over and over. But it's with a team that's as fragile as this organization is when it comes to winning and losing. First impressions are everything, and these rookies are coming in, and I just think your team leaders need to be here.
You need some guys to walk the walk, and not just talk about it. I mean, Miles isn't here. I think Njoku, Batonio, and I know those guys are good, and I can understand. We don't need that, but I agree with you. The team leaders should probably be here just to be here, regardless of what they're doing at OTAs. The one that got me is Deontay Johnson not being here. It's like, are you serious about this football thing or not?
Yeah, who knows what's going on with him? But that just really sends the wrong message for a guy that may not even make it on the roster.
Right. That's not a good sign. And I don't think we're putting a whole lot of weight on him as far as being a presence on this team. I mean, if something happens and he actually turns out to be a find, great, but I don't know that anybody is putting a lot of stock in that right now, and him not showing up for OTAs just certainly doesn't help that.
Sort of confirms that, right?
Yeah.
No.
There's I've seen tweets and I've seen articles and stuff where people are tracking the stats of the quarterbacks.
So
are we really doing this?
I think it's a little premature.
Yeah.
A little kind of silly. This is like their first organized practices, like in an NFL facility.
It's kind of like what we opened with, Rod. I mean, they have to have something to write about and something to talk about. And nobody loves people love nothing more than a quarterback controversy in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So now we've got four quarterbacks, 5 if you count the guy who's on,
we'll stick with.
We don't even say his name.
We'll stick with the 4.
But the reality is we don't have one quarterback to hitch our wagon to right now. We have all these guys who might be our quarterback, and none of them look like they can be a long-term quarterback for us, at least not this year.
Not yet.
So why is it a controversy? The controversy is that we don't have that guy in the building, right? As far as I'm concerned.
It's more a competition, right? It's more competition.
Let's just let these guys let these guys play. Let these guys put their case out there that they should get starting opportunities, and we'll root for that guy when it's his turn. But I'm this idea that, we have to watch every little movement of camp to see which guy is going to be the best quarterback. That's all bull. I mean, that has nothing to do with us winning football games. So it's just about writing stories and getting clicks, right?
I think
100%.
it's silly that it became a bigger deal than maybe what it should have been about Shedeur Sanders getting a Rolls Royce. Like, did you see those stories? Like,
Yeah, I
who
saw the
cares?
stories.
like why is it?
I chose not to go down the rabbit hole.
I just
because people
wanted to
were
see the
saying-
car, honestly. That's all I cared
Yeah.
about. Is I'm a car person. I really enjoy automobiles, so I just wanted to see the car itself. So
Yeah,
that's
sure.
why I selfishly,
great.
I didn't read any of it. I'm like, whatever. He could have got
Yeah.
a Honda Civic. He could have got a Ford Taurus, whatever it was that he chose to, make a vehicle. It would have been, fodder. So I wanted to see the car. I didn't want it to be a controversy. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I am kind of tuned out on the whole QB thing right now.
Mhm.
Until we get a little further down the road and start to get some kind of an idea of how these four guys are playing, and and how the time is going to be divvied up in preseason, and then how we think it's going to, who we think is going to make the team, or who's going to be there, on the 53, and who's going to start the season and who's going to get playing time. It's all just noise at this point. I think they're so far away from making decisions on this stuff. I know people don't have anything else to talk about right now,
I
but
think that's the problem.
it's just boring right now. It just is. I don't care how many touchdowns Shedeur Sanders or anybody else throws at OTAs. Go get your reps in. Play with the team. Help the wide receivers get ready. Learn the playbook. Just do your best to be the best player you can be right now. That's all
I think that's what the players are doing, Rod. I think that all of this is created by us. It's created by all the talking heads, right? And just so that we can entertain each other, because we don't have anything else to do right now.
Right.
I'll give you tonight's first hot take. There are 5 quarterbacks on the roster. 4 of them are going to play this year. I'm not going to tell you which 4 yet. That's going to be in a future show. But 4 of them are going to play. And I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to carry 4, maybe 5 quarterbacks on our roster this year. I'm not going to tell you how.
Well, yeah.
But somehow we're going to carry
various
4, maybe
ways
5
to do
quarterbacks.
that. Yeah, there's a lot of ways they can do that.
Yeah. So the idea that we have to determine in May who the best quarterback is ludicrous, because I guarantee you in December, we're still going to be trying to figure out who the best quarterback is of this group.
Absolutely. I'm very curious to see how both rookies are being developed in Kevin Stefanski's system. Like, that's, to me, so exciting. This is what I wanted, from this draft. And I'm excited to see how the competition between the 2 rookies go.
Were you in the draft 2 quarterbacks camp, Sherry?
I honestly was happy with 1. I was surprised, and this is embarrassing. I was taking a nap when they drafted Shedeur Sanders. From a nap, and thankfully I had my phone.
Was too.
Yeah, right. And I was happy that I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, because the amount of alerts and notifications that came through while I was napping during that was you would think a bomb was dropped somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? And I had to check several reliable sources to make sure this just wasn't some funny thing and I was like, wow, I didn't know. I'm still on the fence on how to feel, because I really want to like him, And I like how he immediately was boots on the ground in Cleveland and meeting kids at some of the local high schools over here and being present and talking about how he wants to be influential in a positive way to the young football players in Cleveland and or just, the young athletes and high school kids. And I saw a clip of him said, even if I could buy him pizzas and I'm like, I like this sentiment. And unfortunately, when you're a product, I mean, he won the birth lottery and he was born into an environment, where he was, since groomed from the beginning to be a football player, and his dad's whole life and career is weighing on him. And then to have your dad coach you in college is like surreal.
Right.
And I'm interested to see Shedeur Sanders as his own person.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And Dylan Gabriel, he deserves a good chance.
Right.
I don't think
we had a lot of draft experts on this show over the last several months. We talked a lot about different scenarios, and I think Rod and I were among the first to suggest that this draft set up to draft 2 quarterbacks, also to draft 2 running backs. We were talking about that probably
very early.
I don't know, back in January, February, maybe. That that was probably a likely scenario in this draft. Not the ones we thought, or maybe would have wanted.
No,
right? But if you're going to wish those kinds of things to happen, you have to be prepared for, okay, well, what does that mean going forward?
Right.
So now we've got these 2 young guys that we need to play. We need to play these guys. They need to earn their playing time.
Absolutely.
Okay. They need to prepare, and they need to know the job and be ready to execute it when they get their chance. Right. But the only way we're going to figure out what to do next year is to play these guys. Right. So yeah, it creates a bit of a challenge. And it creates tons of news in training camp.
Yeah, news. Right.
Who's getting the snaps, and who's making the completions, and who's throwing touchdowns, but the reality is that we saw this coming because we knew 2 things. We knew that the Browns didn't have a quarterback, and we knew that this draft probably wasn't going to give them one.
Right.
So everything else becomes a shot in the dark. Basically, it's just let's see what we can find, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at. We're going to see what we can find this year, and maybe we'll win some games along the way with one of these guys. And maybe more than one of these guys will win some games. Yeah,
right.
But I think it really indicates to everyone that all the thoughts about who's going to win the job. There is no job to win.
Right.
Yeah, it's there's not a winning the job. There's a win this week needs to be the attitude.
That's pretty great.
Whoever's playing.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I wish there was more than one home preseason game, because I would love to see the carousel. The quarterback carousel happen.
Well, yeah, and I hope they actually play some guys in those preseason games this year.
Me too.
Not just the very end of the bench. Play some of the regular rotation guys at least. Maybe not all of your best starters, but let's get these guys out on the field and have them ready for week 1. That's been a pet peeve of mine for several seasons.
Yeah, it's the greatest dress rehearsal of anything is get them out there, get them warmed up, shake off.
They don't have to play the whole game, but
right.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of young guys anyways, so So yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to play. I mean, I'm talking the draft picks, the guys who are going to have guys who are going to play a part this season, anyways.
Absolutely.
Right.
They should be playing some because you need to know what you have in these guys. That's what this season is about. Yeah, of course we want them to win some games, but you got to find out what you have in the quarterbacks and in all the other players. So Jeff sent me, and I saw there are other ones, but Jeff sent me that they have these sims now of the games coming up this season. So Jeff sent me the sim of week 2, the Madden sim of the I guess it's week 2 Browns Ravens, and he goes, this is pretty accurate, including the the final score. And I start watching it, and the thing I really wanted to talk about was the I mean, I guess you could talk about the starting quarterback. They had Shedeur Sanders starting, which was interesting. The other thing was the running backs. Okay. They had Jerome Ford starting, but Quinshon Judkins was really the workhorse in that game.
Wow.
And he ran very well. I kind of fast forwarded through the last few minutes, so I don't know if they showed stats at the end or not. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But Judkins looked really good. So it kind of led me to thinking about, I'm not sure that they're done with the running back room yet. I still think there's potential that Jerome Ford gets traded and maybe Nick Chubb gets signed, or they sign somebody else. Something else happens, or we may see the running back room as it is. Who knows? Either way, we have a good running back room. But I just, as is, I kind of wanted just thoughts from both of you as to the split that you saw. If the 3 of these guys stayed healthy over the course of the season, what kind of numbers, carries and maybe yards do you think you'd see between Ford, Judkins, and Dylan Sampson over the course of this season?
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to give percentages or whatever's easiest for you guys to give. Yeah, I mean, however in depth you want to go. So you want to go first, Sherry?
Sure. This is my weakness, the numbers part, but I am really excited to see Judkins get out and just really ball out. I feel like he seems to me like somebody who's going to transition fairly easily, like from college into the NFL. So I feel like he's going to get a lot of work, and I think everybody is going to come after him. However, I don't know. I should have gotten a less strong beverage, which is embarrassing.
We're only 30 minutes in, Sherry.
No.
Jeez.
But no, I think primarily Judkins and let's see, Ford, and then maybe. Well, I don't know. Is it going to be like a 1-2 punch, like with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb with Sampson and Judkins? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
I'm personally. Oh yeah, I'm excited. One of the things you saw in that Madden Simrod was that they used Ford a lot on kickoffs still. I think part of that sim is that it bases a lot of outcomes on assumptions from last year. So what happened last year translates to this year, only they plug in the rookies, right, and a few free agents. So the outcome was pretty similar to what we saw in Browns games last year, because a lot of the same sorts of things happened along the way. Not, I don't want to spoil it for somebody that wants to go watch it, but when you make the same mistakes over and over, drive killing penalties, things like that, then you're going to lose games and you're going to lose them ugly, right? If you can sort of ride your running game and possess the ball and take care of the football, things like that, you've got a much better chance of winning. The winning indicators in that game just don't really favor the Browns, right? But as far as the running backs go, for me, I think we're going to see a lot of both Quinshon Judkins and Jerome Ford early in the season, because I think this coaching staff is going to be really comfortable with a lot of the veterans early on. More than likely, Joe Flacco is your starter, at least for the first few games. For that reason. Yeah. You're not going to see a lot of Harold Fannin early on, probably. And similarly, I don't think you're going to see much of Dylan Sampson until maybe later in the season, depending on health and stuff, right? But I think it's going to take a while to work him in. I'd really like to see more of him, but I think, realistically, that's down the road. I think he's a down the road type.
If Jerome Ford is on the roster, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I think he will be because of what they did with his contract. I think, by him taking a pay cut to stay here, he could have played that out and taken his release and gone somewhere else and made more money, but he wanted to be here, so he took a pay cut to do that. I think there's a real, I'd say 75 to 80% chance that he's going to be on the roster because they want a veteran, right? Doesn't preclude what I've said before that, there could be a reunion with Nick Chubb down the road, particularly if there's an injury, right? But so I think I would really like to see Quinshon Judkins get 20 plus carries a game and be that 1,000-yard back that we've been looking for, right, the last few seasons. And then the rest of it, great. Ultimately, if our running game is successful, that means our offense is going to be successful. So let's ride that kid for as long as we can.
Yeah. Nick and Niles.
Kelly.
Nick, John Kelly, pretty much. Yeah. I like John Kelly. Let's face it. He's not the same. He's not of the same quality as the guys we're talking about. We know this. But
he's a really good practice squad running back. And,
he's a good guy to have on your team.
He's had some nice moments in games.
Yeah. We're not even talking about Pierre Strong. So,
right.
Because I don't expect him to be on the team.
Right.
But yeah.
I'm not opposed to John Kelly coming back.
Yeah,
I know that. I'm not opposed to John Kelly coming back. I nothing wrong with that, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's happened many times already.
Yeah, he's been around, but it's hard to know what they're going to do. I think the likelihood is that they carry, like you said, Jeff, they're probably going to carry the three guys. This is why I really haven't talked much about Pierre Strong, and because I think if they were going to carry four running backs, they would have signed Nick Chubb by now.
Yeah,
if they liked Pierre Strong, I don't think they would have drafted Dylan Sampson.
Right.
They are similar players.
And Pierre Strong's not a bad back, but he's not as good as the other guys we have.
Mm-hmm. He just has limitations in terms of his blocking ability.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm with you, Jeff. I think Jerome Ford kind of gets bad rap in this town. I think he's a better running back than what people give him credit for. But I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be a stud.
Agreed.
I think Judkins is is, like Sherry said, he's going to be able to step in to the NFL and just pretty much pick up where he left off. So that's going to be fun, and it'll be interesting to see how Dylan Sampson looks when he gets a shot, and he'll get a shot when, at some point. But yeah, it's probably more than likely will be later in the season.
Yeah.
Ethan, yeah, for
I think that's
feast
true,
or
Ethan.
famine.
I think it's true.
It kind of is. Yeah.
He's 1 yard or 6. He's never 3.5.
No, it's pretty true. Yeah.
But how much
Can't
of that
argue
is attributed to our offensive scheme and the play of our offensive line? I just think we need to do a better job of planning the run and executing the run, and making it a priority again. We kind of forget what this team looked like 3 or 4 seasons ago when we were a run-first team. If we go back to that this year, I think Jerome Ford benefits as much as the linemen do.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting because they're going to that, and hopefully the line's healthy. They've got a little bit of help on the line, not as much as some of us would have liked, but now we have 2 rookie running backs who, I think we have pretty high expectations of these guys, and it'll be interesting to see how Jerome Ford runs compared to these guys.
Yeah.
I'm kind of anxious to see how he does.
Do you think that'll light a fire under him a little bit, seeing the new guys? And
I'm hoping he just has better opportunities. I mean, he was the guy last year, like it or not, and it just didn't feel like they had. It just didn't feel like they schemed real well for the running game. Jerome Ford is not a guy who's typically gonna take the ball right up the middle, and
sure.
He
Nick
got killed. Yeah, he got a. That was the famine. That was those 1 yard runs. Jerome Ford up the middle.
Here's our
first down.
Here's our first over under of the night, Rod. Jerome Ford 2024 ran the ball 104 times. Was his yard per attempt average over or under 5?
Oh, last year? Oh, 5 yards per carry?
Yeah. Was it over or under 5 yards per carry?
It was under 5.
What do you think, Sherry?
I would have guessed the same thing, yeah.
He had 565 yards, so 5.4 yards per carry.
Whoa.
So 5.4 ain't bad, but to Nick's point, Ethan's point, feast or famine is true. I mean, he probably had a lot of long carries, 30, 40, 60 yarders, right? That contributed to that average. But still, for your lead back to only have 565 yards on a little over 100 carries, that's not running the ball. That's not even trying to run the ball.
I'm probably thinking of his prior season. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. How many? 5.4. That's a Hall of Fame number. Why do we draft guys?
Yeah, he was 4.0 in 23, and he only had 8 attempts in 22. So
okay.
I mean, he had 813 yards in 23. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think a lot of it.
I was thinking a lot of 23 season. Yeah,
a lot of it gets back to the offensive philosophy. Those hogs up front need to be dialed in to opening holes, right? And knowing where they're supposed to be and stuff. And I just think there's been so much over the last few seasons because of quarterback inconsistency. Some of it's play calling. There just hasn't been an opportunity to get any kind of running rhythm going. So we've got the backs to do it now. I think we need to see the philosophy to back it up.
Right. And I would agree with you, Nick. He's probably not real good at avoiding contact, but he is good in the open field. I don't think they used him as a receiver enough, but that's because he had to be the main ball carrier like the last two seasons. I think if they can get the ball to him more out of the backfield or as a receiver, I think he would probably do even better.
I don't think Quinshon Judkins avoids contact very well either. And I think that's by design. He likes running over people.
He runs through it better. He runs through it better, but yeah, he may want to change some of that in the NFL though too.
Right. Yeah.
Avoid some of those injuries and.
Yeah, we want him to be available. Definitely.
Right. Yeah.
Longevity is key.
Yeah, definitely. So Jeff, you have some
time for the new segment.
Stats?
Yeah. So we have a new segment that we're going to officially roll out tonight. And I have to give credit to our friend Jeremy for giving me the idea for this. We're going to call it the Browns Brain Boost. In the past, we've done some, games and trivia things and so forth to, kind of test our knowledge about the Browns. So this is going to be a
about you and Sherry. He's talking about you and me testing our knowledge.
Oh no!
And our listeners,
and our listeners. Right? So, we take help. We take help if people want to chime in.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, the segment.
The Brain Boost tonight revolves around indicators of a winning organization. We talked a little bit ago about, having 5 mediocre quarterbacks isn't really an indicator of a winning organization, right? Winning your division, that's an indicator of a winning organization, right? That you occasionally challenge for your
winning your what?
Championship, right?
Winning your what?
Your division. So the
division.
Okay. Yeah, the AFC North, right? Something that we haven't done in quite a long time, right? So you guys, I'm sure you guys remember when the last time was we won our division, right? We need some Jeopardy music or something.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, so
did I mention that my beer is an 8.5%?
Okay, you're skirting on my territory.
You're both claiming intoxication on me now.
Yeah.
So 1989 was the last time that the Browns won their division.
Hold on a minute. Wait, is that really it? 1989?
Yeah, so 1989 is the last time the Browns won the division.
That would have been
was quarterback.
The AFC Central, and I actually have a T-shirt in my drawer that says AFC Central Champions 1989, and I missed the question.
Yep. So that year they finished 9-6-1. They lost the conference championship game to the dreaded Denver Broncos. And that was the fourth time in 5 years that the Browns had won that division. So starting in 1985, 86, 87, and 89, they won the division, and then they finished second in the division in 1988. So that's a pretty good indicator of a championship type organization. Even though we didn't get there, we came really close a few times. And we were really John Elway away from a Super Bowl in that stretch, right? Yeah. So winning your division is important. It's something that we really haven't had a shot at in quite a long time. Another thing that I think is a really good indicator, and this is the same stats that I'm looking at. We made a big deal last year about the Browns finishing with the number 1 defense in terms of yards allowed. We actually finished 13th in terms of points allowed. Okay, but in terms of yards allowed, we finished first in the league last year. So generally recognized as a pretty good defense, right? Of course, our offense finished 16th in yards gained and 10th in points scored. But we also finished 25th in turnover ratio. Anybody remember where we finished in turnover ratio last year?
Last.
32nd. Yeah, 32nd turnover ratio. So
That's
those
an
I think
indication
are
of something. Yes.
right. That's an indication of something. Yeah, and it's not winning. Yeah.
Yeah, not winning.
So
No,
Not
not
winning.
at all.
so here's an interesting thing. Top 10 in offense, defense, and turnover ratio. So the last time the Browns finished in the top 10 in all three facets of the game. Okay. Anyone you want to take a shot at when that was? I'll give you a hint. We already talked about the right era.
1989.
Oh, I
It
was
was
going to say.
1987.
Oh,
87.
Yeah, 1987. Yeah. So in 1987, we were playing Marty ball, running the crap out of the ball. We had Bernie Kosar. That team, by the way, just a little side piece of information, had two coaches that went on to be head coaches in the NFL. Can you name them?
In the NFL.
Belichick?
Yeah.
I think it's the easy one.
Went on to be head coach. No, this was under Marty Schottenheimer.
Oh, under Marty.
Yeah. I'll give you the hard one. The offensive coordinator was Lindy Infante.
Oh, I never heard that name. I
You
don't
know who
that
you know who the secondary coach was for that team?
Was it Saban?
No.
Bill
Saban
Cowher.
was DC.
Oh.
Bill Cowher. You got it, Rod.
I'm cheating.
Yes.
That was
I
given
saw
to
he
Ethan.
didn't put
Oh,
it.
you
He
looked
didn't
it
put it
up.
in.
I was
He
thinking of
said
Saban.
too.
I was thinking of
thinking
Saban, but yeah.
Siri, don't let
yeah.
Rod cheat anymore.
No, I'm not taking credit for that. Ethan gets credit for that.
Pittsburgh zone.
So
got it.
Indicators of a winning organization again. So the last time that the Browns were top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams, 1987. Going back to 1946 through 1969, 23 times in 24 years, they were top 10 in all three categories.
Wow.
23 times out of 24 years.
46 through what year?
Now through 1969. Now that was before the NFL merger, so there were half as many teams. Okay. But that's why we have all those championships. Okay. We were top 10 and a lot of times we were number one. You get down to the 1940s and 50s. It's crazy. It's all ones and twos. I mean,
wow.
The Browns were 1 or 2 in the league in all those categories every year. And since the new era, it hasn't happened. We haven't been top 10, and we've barely been top 10 in one of those categories, much less 2 or 3. So that's an indicator of a losing organization right there. Okay. Just to expand on that a little bit further, and I mentioned this briefly, points differential. You know, you can have a great offense, you can have a great defense, you can not turn the ball over, but ultimately this game boils down to outscoring the other team. Right.
You got to score the football.
Yeah.
You got to score and not let the other team score.
Yeah.
Right?
Hold on to it. Don't drop it.
Yes.
Right. So since 1999, okay, since the Browns came back, all right, how many times did we score more points than we gave up? You want me to give you an over and under?
Yeah, sure. Give us an over under.
Any handicap.
This is 26 seasons now.
26 seasons. Yeah. Yeah. In 26 seasons, the over under is 5.
Wow.
Oh,
you're
guessing 5, Rod?
I had 5. I had 5 up before you said 5.
Okay. All right.
So I said I figured it was around 5. So 5's the over under. Well, Sherry, Ethan's saying 4.
I'll go with Ethan. Ethan's my partner in
Ethan's
this
under,
game.
so I'll go over. I'll guess it's 6, just to be just for fun.
It's 3.
3.
Oh,
yeah.
3
wow.
times.
Okay. Yeah.
3 times. And one of them was 2 seasons ago. In 2023, in 2023, we were a plus 34.
Mm.
In 07, we were a plus 20. And in 02, we were a plus 24. Every other season, we gave up more points than we scored. And that's not a much of a margin, by the way. When you start looking at teams going back a few years, I mean, that stretch in the 1980s. In 1987, we were a plus 151. 151 plus in 1987. That's how many more points we scored.
What you're telling me is in these 26 seasons, we were probably a minus 1,000 of that.
I didn't do that math. That would be way too depressing. But
that is fair.
Yeah, we don't need to. We don't need to do that math. But that's my guess. That would be my over/under.
Yeah. So those 3 times. So in 2023 we finished 11-6, second in division. In 07 we finished 10-6, second in the division. And in 02 we finished 9-7, second in the division. So those were our best runs in the division. Those were our winningest seasons, our playoff seasons since the team came back. Okay, so it's about putting points on the board. In let's see, from 1979 to 1995. Okay, and I'll just tell you that in 1995, 1994, under Bill Belichick, the Browns were 11-5. They outscored their opponents by 136 points. Okay, so that was a really good season for us as well. I think 95 was kind of like, we're moving, nobody cared. But from 79 to 95, excuse me, how many times did we have positive point differential? The over-under is 10. So 79 to 95, what is that? 16, 17 years?
77 to 95?
Yeah.
How many
79
years?
to 95, yeah. 79 to 95, 17 years, 17 seasons.
Oh, I'd say probably 12.
Oh, I was going to go lucky 7.
Yeah, it's 5. It's it's 8.
Oh,
So eight times, and all 8 of those times we were plus 500. So we had a winning record all 8 of those times in that time period. Okay,
Math is hard late at night.
it is.
I'm usually pretty good at math too.
Even for me, it is at this point. And I'm not drinking alcohol. All right, so
yeah, alcohol makes math hard, and being a little later at night makes it hard. And
this is the last part, okay? And this goes again to why we won 8 championships, okay, back in the good old days. From 1946 to 1978, we were plus in terms of the point differential. We were plus 27 times. And of those 27 times, only once did we finish below 500. That was in 1977, and we finished 6-8. So I guess the takeaway from all this is you have to be good on offense. You have to be good on defense. You have to create turnovers. You have to take care of the football. You have to do all those things, right? But football ultimately boils down to you have to score more than you give up. Right.
Right.
We think we have a pretty good defense going for us right now. I don't care who the quarterback is. Just score some points. Let's figure out how to get the ball in the end zone. I don't want to be kicking field goals. I want to put the ball in the end zone. Right? And guess what? We'll start winning games again if that happens. All right. So that's the Browns brain boost for tonight.
All right.
Thanks.
Nicely
guys.
done. Nicely done. And so, there we go. And I'm going to go back to that simulation, Jeff, because there was something in there without telling anybody what the score of the game was, because we don't want to tell anybody what's going to happen in the season, because I'm sure that simulation is going to match up and everything.
Everything.
What was good was that Dustin Hopkins made some kicks.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, that was the unexpected part.
That's
Yeah,
great
I
news.
he came out there. He came out there to kick, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
I did find myself holding my breath in those moments.
I always hold my breath, and I do this
Yeah.
every game.
Pretty funny. Yeah. So guys, I just got one more quick thing, and then we'll see if anybody has any questions, and we'll do our closing thoughts on that. But Jeff, I sent you something, and I can't remember if this was the thing I sent you or not, an article, but it was about the Browns roster and how good or bad it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think I sent that to you. Anyways, we're going back to articles again, but
Right.
I can't remember who had the Browns roster, but they have the Browns roster rated as the worst roster in the league. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really hard for me to believe, because
Ridiculous.
going into last year, we thought we had a top 5 roster. Okay.
Oh,
I know we got some
never.
rookies,
Right.
and I know that we
Yeah.
didn't have a good season last year. Me and this mouse in my pocket. But but how did our roster get so terrible in 1 year? Okay. We still got a lot of good players on this roster. And the kicker in the article and other things I'm seeing is that I saw something, and I might be overlapping articles here, but people saying that the Browns have the worst roster in the league, and then saying the Steelers are a good team who might get Aaron Rodgers too. I'm like, why all of a sudden do the Steelers have a good roster? Has anybody looked at their roster compared to our roster? You can talk about organizations, but if you're looking at rosters, don't tell me that the Steelers roster is a whole lot better than our roster right now.
Right.
Just kind of wonder what you guys thought of that.
Well,
I think it goes
Where do you
back
think
to you are what your record says you are.
right. There's that for sure.
Yeah.
It's
How
easy
do
to
you
pick
feel
on a
about
team.
the actual?
Yeah, it's just easy to pick on a team that picked second in the draft. That had the number 2 draft pick. I mean,
Sure.
you look at how badly we lost games last year, and the fact that we were seldom even in a game. It's not hard to feel that way, but the crazy thing about the NFL is that you could take that same roster, and if the ball bounces the other way a few times, now you're a winning team, and it takes very little. I personally, I don't think there's a huge difference between the top 5 rosters in the league and the bottom 5 rosters in the league. Think about, we had Emory Hunt on a few weeks back, and he said he looked at 7,500 players who were draft eligible or some crazy number like that, and 240 some make the NFL, right? Get drafted, and so yeah, it's very minute, the difference between, I think, a really good roster and a really bad roster, and the way it gets judged is how does it perform,
Right.
So we just didn't perform really well last year, so basically the same roster from the year before now goes to the bottom of the list, and it's a little subjective. but it is results driven, right? So the good news is nothing says we can't turn that around this year and suddenly be viewed as a top 5 roster again. All we have to do is win some games.
That's right. And like Nick says, there are other factors. The Ken Dorsey experiment, which we all survived somehow. Jeff specifically was calling for Ken Dorsey to be fired after about 3 games last year. And I don't know how the guy survived the whole season. But, so yeah, you can talk about how the roster performed, but there were other circumstances last year too.
Right.
The injuries, the offense that was in place, the coaching staff. It's not just the players. But I understand that you are your record, and we'll see what these guys do this year.
I think there are too many elements that aren't being looked at to make a judgment in that manner, besides, not just statistics, but like you said, there's so much, I'm not going to say drama, but stuff that we don't know about that goes on in the locker room and whatnot, and people's heads getting poisoned and morale and things. I think that plays a lot on rosters, and I don't think once the draft comes around and everybody's fighting for a job right now, and we could, like you said, we could judge what happens with a new roster. And I'm not like, last year's done. It happens. And we have a whole new bunch of guys that have never played for us before that potentially will be. And we could take it from there.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, if unless anybody else has anything to kick in the comments, we're gonna get some final thoughts. We've been going a little bit over an hour, so Sherry, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad
I
you
appreciate it.
Glad you could join us, and we'll let you give us some closing thoughts. Anything you want to share with anybody who happens to be checking us out at this point?
I promised myself I wouldn't talk about hockey and Hockey Up Your Beautiful Browns podcast. But I am still quite happy. Are you gentlemen hockey fans at all?
At times.
I am. Yeah, at times. I'll be honest, I'm not. Jeff, I mean,
okay.
Jeff, my sister-in-law, Jeff's wife, is kind of a hockey fan.
My wife is a big hockey fan. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I love female hockey fans more than anything. No, it's an exciting time. A little team from South Florida is going back to the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd year in a row, which is unheard of because we don't even get frost down there. And having an ice hockey team that I do believe will be playing in a winter classic this upcoming season is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
That's very cool. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
If only the Browns played on ice. That would be interesting.
We have to root for all our teams, so
Absolutely.
That's why we hope the Cavs, the Tribe, your
and the Monsters. Can't forget the Monsters.
Yeah, and anybody else, So until the Browns get this thing on track, which hopefully this season will help them get there and kind of figure some things out. So hopefully we'll get on our way soon. So Jeff, closing thoughts tonight?
I guess if I'm going to throw out another hot take, the last quarterback that will suit up for the Browns this year is going to be wearing number 4. Feel free to boo.
Wow,
I
interesting.
think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I could see it happening though. I can see it happening. It would take some injuries and stuff, which I honestly hope we don't get to that. But you know, yeah, the way the Browns go through QBs, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
We have a whole bunch of shows to to talk about, you know, how we would get there and so forth coming up. But let's just say I see it in the cards.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll give Ethan the last word here, and I'll address this, guys. So Ethan, hot dogs are neither hot nor dogs. Talk amongst yourselves. As long as you put mustard on it, Ethan, I'm good with it.
Call it whatever you want.
Don't put that damn ketchup on it. I'm partial to stone ground mustard on my hot dogs, and I'm good. So just keep the ketchup off.
Thanks for your participation, Ethan.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and everybody else who's chimed in tonight, we really appreciate it, guys. So yeah, but anyways, we are going to be off next week. We will be back and getting ready as we approach that 300th episode. We'll be back with episode 299 in a couple of weeks, and we thank you all for listening. And if I can find music. Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you next time.